Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joseph Mbele. I've introduced myself many times. I am a Tanzanian. I happen to be teaching right now here in the United States, in Minnesota at St. Olaf College. I've been here since 1991, and before that, I taught at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. So I'm here for now, and I would like today to talk about something that I've encountered online on Facebook. Very interesting posting. Somebody, I think he's a coach or he's a teacher of some kind, and he put out an announcement, not just today, but several weeks ago I saw the same announcement, and it interested me very much, and I thought I should say something about it. It got me thinking, and so the announcement was, do not write books that don't sell. Do not write books that don't sell. Something like that. It got me thinking. That got me thinking. Do not write books that don't sell. Well, I write books, and I don't really care whether they sell or not. And I don't even write in order to sell books. I don't. I have never done that. I will never do it. To write in order to sell books, that's very unpalatable. It's very scary. It seems to me the motive for writing, the incentive, should come from within. That's what it is for me. I write because I feel very strongly that I need to say something. I need to let it out. I have to do it. I can delay the process, but I keep, feeling, that pressure to write that thing. And so I have to write it to free myself from that pressure. That's what it is for me. I feel very strongly about something and I need to say it in the form of a book. Once I'm done, once I've written the book, I don't really care whether anybody is going to buy it. I don't care. I'm very pleased with myself. I feel a sense of relief that some pressure has been taken out of me. A lot of relief. And I can now do something else. I can now do something else. I've freed myself from that pressure, and so I can do something else very comfortably. And so, yes, I've written some books which are selling and selling well, but that was never my incentive. So this book, for example, Africans and Americans Embracing Cultural Differences. It's a very popular book. It has sold thousands of copies, but that's okay. It just happens that people love it, and I enjoyed writing it. I felt I needed to write it. I felt I needed to write such a book because there was no such book around that I knew of. And so I wanted this kind of book to be out there, but it wasn't there. And as Toni Morrison, the African-American writer, wrote, if the book you want to read is not there anywhere, then you must write it. I like that idea. So I was advising study abroad programs offering cultural orientation to American students and other Americans who are going to Africa, to study, to volunteer, or whatever. And I was offering cultural orientation, and I was looking around. There was no book that would satisfy, my needs. And that was the incentive, that was the force that made me decide to write that book that I wanted to be using or reading out there. And so I'm very pleased with that book. And then later, years later, first I published this book in 2005. And years later, I decided I needed to write a sequel. It was my intention, it was my desire to add some things that I hadn't said in this book, to say certain things in a better way, maybe to clarify certain things. It was my desire, and so I wrote a sequel, this book here. I was not pushed by the desire to sell books, no. And so after writing the sequel, Chickens in the Bus, More Thoughts on Cultural Differences, I'm very pleased. That pressure is gone. I'm now very free. I can think of other projects. In fact, I'm writing another book. I have written books that don't sell. I wrote them because I felt very strongly that I needed to write those books. And so here is one. It's in Swahili. It's called Changamoto, Insha za Jamii. It's a collection of little essays in Swahili about social, political, cultural, educational, and other things, pertaining mostly to Tanzania, but also to Africa, and maybe the world as such. Changamoto. Hardly anybody is buying this book. In my recollection, there was one Tanzanian guy who bought the book. One. He passed away. He was a friend of mine. One. And then here in the USA, I think 2 copies have been sold. 2. Because I carry it sometimes to book festivals, book events. I might carry 2, 3 copies of this book. 2 copies have been sold. And both of them were bought by some Kenyans. The first one was a Kenyan young lady. She was probably in her teens. And then the second one, again, it was by a Kenyan. This one was an adult man. But I'm very pleased with the book. I wanted to say certain things and address certain topics, as I say, all kinds of topics, including, topics such as the great writer, Shaban Robert, the Tanzanian writer, the greatest Swahili novelist. I have an article here. I talk about what is development. I talk about books and tourism. I talk about the whole idea of censorship, censoring books. I talk about writing in Swahili. I talk about publishing, those kinds of topics. I needed to express myself. I needed to write, and I'm happy. In fact, right now, or more recently, I have finished another book which is not selling so far, and it might not sell, but I'm very pleased with it. This is a study guide It's a study guide on a famous poem, a very long poem by a Ugandan writer. The poem is called Song of Lawino. So I wrote a study guide. It took me years. It took me years to write this book. I felt I needed to write this study guide. And I'm now very pleased that I did. That pressure is gone. I'm ready to do something else. In fact, for some years I've been thinking about writing another study guide, and the push is there, the pressure is there. It has been there for quite a few years. This is going to be a study guide on a West African writer from Guinea in West Africa, Kamara Laye. The book is an autobiographical kind of novel. It's called The African Child. It was written first in French, and then it was translated by somebody into English. And I read it, I believe, as a high school student in Tanzania. But I love that book, and over the years, I have felt I need to write a study guide to express my thoughts about that book. It's an amazing book. And so at the back of my mind, I've been working on a study guide on The African Child. I doubt if anybody is going to buy that book, but I'm very passionate about writing it. I am very passionate, and if I am lucky enough to live a few more years, I will write that study guide. I will write, and I'll be very pleased with myself. And so this philosophy of mine, of just writing because I feel impelled to do so, not because of money, seems to be something that's really driving me in other ways as well. I remember several days ago, I put up a video on this channel in which I was talking about what was the topic again? I forget the exact wording of the topic, but again, yeah, I remember. It was about what was that? It was about taking a course on public speaking. You know, going to be trained, to be coached, so I could speak. And I was saying, speak to audiences and be a very professional, highly paid speaker. Yeah, that was the topic. And I was saying, I don't feel comfortable doing this, training in order to speak and make a lot of money. I said, I speak from the heart. I have my own way of speaking. I don't follow rules. I don't need coaching. I feel then my speeches, my talks will be somewhat artificial, contrived, and I just want to be myself. And so money is not an incentive for me. Yeah, that was what I said in that video several days ago. I've also realized I have said similar things, like in this book, Chickens in the Bus. Yeah, I have expressed my feelings about money and how I'm not really driven by money in the things I do. And if I happen to make money, apart from, keeping what I need for basics, like food and clothing and housing and things, to have my car running, I don't really see why I should have a lot of money. When I have that money, I like to make it work for somebody. I want to make it work for people. solving their problems, getting them out of difficult circumstances. That brings me joy. For me, that's the joy of money, to see it working, to see it helping people, not to see it sitting in an account somewhere. And so I realize what I'm saying today about not writing books that don't sell. And then I'm saying, I write books, whether they sell or not. And in fact, I'm going to write books. I've been writing books which don't sell, and I'm happy. It connects very well with what I say here about money. I attribute this to my upbringing. Actually, I attribute this to my upbringing. I did not come from a culture that's too much money driven. There were other things that were important, and money was needed here and there, but it was not the focus of our life. We valued things other than money, social relations, and the network around us, and the idea of sharing what we had. And it was a kind of communalistic culture. That's the reality of African rural cultures. There are not too many discrepancies between people. The ones who have things, they readily share. And so everybody can live, a decent life, I should say. That's the way I was brought up. That's the way I was brought up. And so I don't worship money. I'm not addicted to money. I'm not addicted to money. Money comes my way, but as I say in this book, Chickens in the Bus, it comes and it goes, it comes and it goes, and life goes on. I'm okay. Life goes on. So the idea of writing books for money, that idea I find unpalatable. I will never change. I want my writings to be, a product of what I really desire to say, a need out there that I think I should address. And by need, I mean the need for a certain kind of a book, the need for me to articulate certain ideas. It has to come from within me, not from without. I want to end by quoting my favorite American writer at this point. He has been my favorite American writer for some years, Ernest Hemingway. Yes, he talked a lot about writing and about writers, about the writer's life, all kinds of things connected with writing and books. And the thing I want to end my talk with is what he said about American writers and what's ruining American writers. He said they will write a novel, they will write a book, and then they become very famous, they get a lot of money, and after that, or because of that, then they start writing a lot of trash. Yeah, that's Hemingway. Money is ruining American writers. They write that book, it becomes famous, it becomes, very popular, and then they make a lot of money, and then they start writing a lot of trash. And so he expressed very well the destructive effect, the corrosive effect of money. I could cite Karl Marx as well. I could go on and on and on, and I'm happy I'm in good company. Well, I'll keep writing books which don't sell, and I'll do this very, very happily. That's my message for today. Thank you.